This is Business First Responders, and we are glad you're here. We're going to talk about some pretty interesting things today. So I just wanted to make sure that Jake and Jay are here. They're going to talk with us about what you can do for the pivot just in case you need something. And in case you decided to open up a new business, instead of jumping into the deep end, maybe you need a little bit of help. So give you some ideas for that too. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is AI learning. And that's artificial intelligence, you guys, which means you're going to be doing it on the internet. So you can operate it out of your house. It doesn't take you anything extra to do that. No extra expenses. Just be able to have, laptop you already have, which probably has a camera and a speaker and a record feature, and you're good to go. So Jay is going to talk about why you might want to consider having something different, and then I'm going to talk about specific topics that you would use for AI learning. And Jake is going to tell you how to get it out there to everybody so that you can then also get your current customer base maybe to get a little bit more involved and engaged so that they're working with you on one thing and maybe on a second thing and coming back to you when you're fully open. Okay? So I'll tell you what, let's start with you, Jay. Why in the world do we need something new and different?
Well, it's interesting because I work with a company now that has evolved its own methods of providing information to people. And one of the things we did prior to this whole COVID pandemic was embrace an AI technology, embrace futuristic digital technology to really give more of a high-tech appeal to the disseminated information. And I got to tell you something. The old dogs were not happy. Some of the guys that have been around in our business just freaked out. They freaked out. And for quite a while, it was very difficult to get those individuals to embrace something new because it was out of their comfort zone. So one of the things that I want to share with everyone is you might listen to even the acronym AI, all of a sudden begin to cringe because it means that not only is it learning something new, which is taking you out of a comfort zone, but it's also fearful because of the lack of your ability to understand, to really think that you can learn it in a specific amount of time. So before we can dive into anything else, the one thing that I want to encourage you guys to understand is there's always a measure of fear when you are dealing with something that is uncertain, right? We love predictability. Yes. We love things that we can almost predict the outcome. We live in those places. That's where we feel best about outcomes, when we can predict them, right? That's why we continue to watch the same movie over and over and over again, or the same reruns over and over and over again, because they know what the ending looks like. It's predictable.
No surprises.
There's something comforting about that. I get it. However, comfort and success don't live on the same block. So sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone as a measure of reinventing yourself, just so that you can have advantage or leverage or an increase in success. And if that means either you learning all about technology that's going to give you this futuristic appeal and approach yourself and embracing it and doing yourself, that's one thing. But if that's beyond your ability to understand technology, then don't be ashamed, don't be afraid to go find those who can do it for you. There's no shortage of individuals and companies and groups, and even we've got Jake Jordan here himself, who can get together with you and say, hey, let me take over this aspect of it. You do what you do, and I do best. And with our meeting of the mind, we can have best. So the day and age of living in the dark ages where you are sending smoke signals as a form of prospecting, those days are over.
No, they're gone.
You've got to embrace the new. They're gone. They're gone. You've got to embrace the new future, but with a sense of boldness, comfort, and the surety that you don't have to do it alone. There's plenty of people that can help you out there. Right, Jake?
Well, you know what? And even if you don't have a budget, let's say you got zero zip over budget, I guarantee you the high school kid that lives next door is perfect.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Is you made a great point, Jake. So as I was thinking there, going through, there's a lot of people that really, not even age is the issue. It's just they're just not into the web like other people are. They know how to handle their Facebook feed, but they're just business owners. And I think one of the things that business owners do the very best is solve problems. And so you could literally have someone running an AI solution that you know very little about, but you know the problem it solves, right? You know how it can speed things up or how it can create new opportunities. And you have someone behind the scenes running the AI portion, and what you're doing is running the business. Because at the end of the day, if you're talking about running something new or finding an additional way to supplement your income, what you're good at is finding ways to solve problems and gathering money.
Right.
Right. And a great example is a lot of ad agencies, right? I came from ad agency. A lot of the owners of ad agency might have been good at one particular skill set inside of digital marketing, but they had developers working for them to build websites.
Mm-hmm.
They had, pay-per-click people creating traffic for their clients.
Right.
Business owners don't have to be an expert in the subject matter. So, to your point, it just maybe seems like a bigger piece of fear because it's such a huge unknown for a lot of people. But if you step back and go, again, look, I'm here to help people solve problems. You don't have to be the one doing the AI, for example.
Well, that's true. And one of the things that I'm seeing is there's quite a few older people that are business owners and have been for quite a while. But now they're thinking, I don't think I'm ready to tackle the rest of this, coming out of COVID. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. And what I'm telling them is you have so much expertise that a brand new business owner doesn't have. Mm-hmm. So why don't you then start an AI system where you are now a consultant? So you can share that knowledge that they need. Like I said, jumping into the deep end of the pool when you're a brand new business owner is the quickest way to fail. And any banker will tell you that. So it's huge that these guys have expertise. They need to use it. I don't care how old you are or how young you are. If you've got that expertise, then you can definitely create yourself some type of a system to bring in passive income or regular income in your house,
Yep. And Mark Cuban said not that long ago, it wasn't on Shark Tank, it was on something else, but he said if he had to start all the way over again, he'd start in AI, just because
is that right?
So much potential there. And he doesn't know, he's a tech guy, but he doesn't know that much about AI, but he just said, I'd find somebody who did.
That's right. And there's so many different things, you don't even think about all of the subjects you could really cover. Like, as a business owner that you know how to get customers. More than likely, you've done it for years. Now, how did you do it? Now, how does that new guy, how's he going to be able to pivot that into his business? But at least you've given him nuggets that he can work from, and that's perfect. Think of it, just one segment is talking about how to get customers. I know everybody wants that. I want that. You want that. Jay wants that. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the world would, you've just opened up everything you could possibly have for tons of people that would pay you, even if you just charged them $10 for that one segment. Well, if you sold that $10 to 300 people, look what you just made, so it makes it well worth it.
Yeah. And I actually had a client this week I was talking to who is in fashion, right? And fashion, particularly they're in higher end fashion. And it's interesting because obviously higher end stuff isn't doing that well right now.
Right.
So, but they still have a thing that they sell that works for that group of people. And one of the things we were considering is finding someone who's really, really fantastic, just absolutely knows e-commerce, knows how to build a website that creates income for purchasing things online. That's their specialty, right? And taking that opportunity to partner up with this client so that you've got this one person who has this expertise in fashion and really understanding things there and one that has e-commerce, and just being okay with, I'm going to give away some of my profit now, because right now there's somebody who knows something I don't know. And that's okay, because that's another way to pivot, right, Jay?
Now listen, and I like what you said, because that person you were working with, they went ahead and got some help, and they did a few things that helped them get crystal clear. And as you're chatting, one of the things that I can encourage people to understand is, as you're embracing taking AI in your business, it's very important, and I can tell you from personal experience, it's very important that you're crystal clear what direction you want to go in.
Mhm.
It's very important that you understand what the end game looks like after it's all said and done. Because if you're starting, and it's like Suzanne said, if you're jumping in, whether you are jumping in a business for the first time or you're reinventing yourself, if you're jumping in without a real clear pathway of a game plan, then you are going to run yourself amok trying to figure things out. You're going to hit a tremendous amount of landmines. You'll find that you spend a lot of money getting frustrated. You'll find that you spend a lot of time getting nowhere, and you throw it in the air and say, "Oh, this don't work." Well, it's not that I didn't work; it's that you had a plan that didn't work for you. You just didn't have a plan. So it's very important to make sure that you understand what highway you're going to get on, what lanes you are going to allow on the highway, and if it doesn't fit in the trajectory of your plan, if that lane doesn't need to be there, then eliminate the lane. And if you've got to start with 2 lanes highway, you start with 2 lanes on your highway and go to the third as need be. But you have to get on a highway with at least 1 lane so you get clarity, so then you can dictate your vision to others who can come around you and create the kind of AI that's going to be most effective for you. I see too many mistakes in that arena, and that's why it ends up in failure and disappointment a lot of times.
Yeah, it looks like we have John said, savings only last so long, right? So you got to have a plan to create that next thing. And I like what you said about having 1 lane, because until you get that 1 lane right, that's what we were talking about with them. You get that 1 lane right, you don't really need 2 lanes, because it's.
Well, and you can go deep. You can pick whatever it is and go deep with that, and you still would have more than enough to create your AI. So let's say starting a business. There is so much to starting a business, from being able to find a banker, set up your bank accounts, set up how you're going to have it put together with legal entities and taxing entities and all of those things that you don't even think of when I had a couple call me, as sweet as they can be. They want to start their own business. They want to do a little mini convenience store. And the first issue goes, well, he's really good at this and I'm really good at that. And I said, that's great, but now let's start at the beginning. And I asked all these questions, and it just totally blew their little minds. And so those are things that somebody has to say, here's where you start, and then work your way down from there, so that you're not having sticker shock once you get into it and then having that failure. Because your money only, especially when they're starting a business as a mom and pop, you don't have a lot of money. You don't have tons and tons of relatives that are going to just throw money at you, because they're not. They're probably the worst people. They're never going to give you any money. So it's going to be hard to get a loan because you don't have a plan. And that's what Jay was talking about. You have got to sit down and set up a plan. And you can do it quickly. You can do it in a week, as long as you spend some time doing it and thinking through it. But you need some help. And that's why an AI would be wonderful on starting a business. I mean, that'd be the first thing I would do.
Yeah. So are there any applications? Because I know this has come from some groups that you've been talking to as well, right? And is out there. Have there been any specific applications that they've mentioned?
As far as doing something like an AI, a lot of them have just talked about doing a YouTube series.
Educating people.
Yeah. They're doing it they're talking about doing it organically, and then using a YouTube series, and then doing it obviously with hashtags. And that seems, one of the guys is doing it on how to become a public speaker for money. So like Jay, you do public speaking. I don't know if you get paid a lot of money for it, but a lot of these guys are trying to get into that. And there is a speakers network that you can join as well, that does some training. But he's trying to train on how you actually get a business started and get in front of people and go that direction. So that's the way they've instructed him, because he didn't have much of a budget to work with.
Yeah, one of the things that I've got a friend up in the Northeast who started AI way back before everyone else did, because he's a geeky guy who could program and stuff, right? But one of the things that he saw was that he would be setting appointments all the time. And you have either an assistant or you do it yourself, and people send emails and they go back and forth and back and forth. And can you do this day? Can you do this day? More than one person, it's even more, right? It can take you 3 days to set an appointment.
Right.
AI is fantastic for automating tasks, right? And it's a yes/no thing. And if you can put any one of your current things that you do in a yes/no type situation, then AI could possibly fix it. So I know that's one of the things that Mark Cuban had said when considering how application could work AI for your business. Go, is there anything in my business that I could put a yes/no tree into my process? AI can solve it, right? Because you may not even have to leave your own industry. You just have to find somebody who understands how to do it. But then you have new revenue, play inside your own industry that you already know.
Yeah, I don't.
Now, one of the nice things about having, I'm sorry, Suzanne.
Go ahead, Jay.
I was saying one of the very important thing on the business you're in. So this point is really based on the business that you're in. But the nice part about having even a system like Mark Cuban was talking about with the yes and no, and what you were talking about, Jake rather, is your business will run when you're not running it, and that is huge. Because I think if your business only operates when you operate it, if it's only open during the hours that you are open, you don't have a business.
Right.
You have a baby opportunity, right?
So you have a job.
A real business, isn't it true? I mean, a real business, and guys, I'm speaking from experience. A real business doesn't need you to generate income if you is in place to continue to generate income when you're not there generating it. A true business allows you to make money even while you're sleeping. So, and again, depending on the kind of service you provide, number one, if you don't have that kind of system in place, you're going to the income you could earn. But while you're sleeping here in Texas, there's folks halfway around the country that is daytime for them. Speaking about the business of speaking, the business of book selling, the business of coaching, and all these things that I'm working on, I didn't go into business to help the local community only. I'm not a local entrepreneur. I'm not a localpreneur. I'm a globalpreneur. But if I don't have systems in place that allows me to be global, then I am subject to the locality of the services of the area that I'm in. I don't want that. All right. So it's very important to have those kind of systems in place so that depending on the service you offer, your business, you're not running it, and it'll generate income, or at least position yourself to generate income, so that when you are awake and at it, it's that much easier to engage that potential prospect and convert them into a client. Right. Great point, Jake.
That's true. And when you are anything that's on the internet or web-based, you don't have to be local. You can be anywhere, like what you're saying, Jay. And it can be anywhere in Asia, anybody in India, wherever, and they can, as long as they can purchase, and everybody has a PayPal account or anything like that, you can certainly get paid for it. And it can be delivered via email or download a link, so that's simple.
Let me just say this. Let me say this because I'm doing a lot of this stuff now, and I'm glad this is a good topic that we're on because I can speak from a testimonial standpoint. I'm learning, again, this is depending on the service that you offer, but I'm learning that if you are able to reach others in different parts of the world, forget about the U.S., about Canada, we're talking about the Middle East, we're talking about Asia, Europe. They love American-minded business people who can provide American-minded services. You mentioned a speaker, but whether it's a speaker or Jake, a coach, what you do, boy, I tell you what, if you're able to tap into another part of the world, when they find out that you're an American, with that mindset that we have as Americans here, you go to the top of the line, you go to the top of the food chain for getting a contract or hire to do the work. So if you're not able to get your message out to the world, you're shortchanging your success by a light year. Just a little, but by a light year.
Yeah. And you know what? I think if you're using the mindset of what AI really is, which is how can I do less of the repetitive things in my business, that's a concept that's been around for a long time. This is just a solution that helped speed that up, right? And I think during COVID, people have had a mind to think about that more because they've been forced to not, I can't go out and do the things that job style mentality of I have to go get in front of people and I have to go do things to make money, right? And everyone's going, how can I take some of what I'm already doing and translate that to an online thing? And so the next natural step is how can I do that online thing and have, something running parts of it for me? So it's a natural progression that we're all stepping into based on circumstance. It's just some people have already been thinking about it beforehand. That's all.
Do you have any systems that you use, Jake, that would be?
Yeah. So my buddies, I have to get a link for it. I can't remember what it's called because I got it so long ago. But I use an AI scheduler. There are some other ones out there that aren't.
Do you use Calendly? Is that what you're talking about?
But it's not AI. AI technically is smart. It will actually take multiple variables and pick the one that makes the most sense for you. Really, that's just automation. So you start getting into like segments of AI, if you will, because I use Entreport as my CRM and its automation, and that's the most rudimentary kind of AI you can use, right? They were one of the first kind of to roll all that out. But if someone goes to my website and they do something, they get a particular email series. If they go to the email series and they click on a certain email, they get a certain follow-up video from me. That's automation, right? AI is just one step further where it could actually even make decisions for me and say, well, based on these 3 variables, I'm going to give them this one, not this one, right? So I do use an AI scheduler, which looks for keywords. So if the email comes back with a specific keyword in it, it sends a different response. So if they say I can't do Thursdays, then it won't reply with any schedules for Thursdays, right? So it's smart, if you will.
That's excellent. I think that's a great idea. So I guess Google AI.
Well, I'll put a link. I'll put a link afterwards.
Okay.
That one.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Just a scheduler that the guy runs.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
I've recently implemented. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Suzanne.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Now I was saying just to since we're talking about different potential systems out there, because I got a feeling as we're talking, there's a ton of people that are going to catch this and say, sounds good, but what are you guys doing? And this little conversation that we're having is stirring up in them, not only to look further, but where to go and where to start and ideas. I've recently implemented something on my site, very, very recently. That's why I'm speaking from a testimonial point of view, where if someone, it's like when they talk to you in live chat, almost as if there's a person there, but there's, right, it's just a program that if they watch a certain video, then it automatically generates a certain question. If they click a certain link, it generates a question, because if a person clicked on the link of my book, then there's a reason they did that. So if I'm sitting there watching it from the other side of the screen, that person says, what'd you like about the cover? What'd you like about the book? Can I send you a copy? Or do you know how to order one? That robotic AI conversation is happening while I'm asleep. And the next day I get up and I see the conversation, and it's amazing.
Yep.
It's amazing. And I don't have the high tech stuff. I just got the basic stuff that comes along with this plan that I'm with. But it's just, it does make a difference. And I'm so grateful and thankful that someone showed me this, because it is like 2 of me working now. It's cool.
Yeah, cool. Drift is a great company to check out to see kind of what's possible. So if you could just go check out Drift, they're fantastic. And they use those bots, but they use them in marketing and in sales and in customer service. They really spread out and use that. And so they're one of the big dogs out there right now.
Drift.
I'll check that out.
There you go. See value. Value.
We learned something. Even we learned something new today.
That's right.
That's excellent.
I'm glad I tuned in.
Excellent. I think it's the reason why we got together. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
I want to share something with you guys. I want to get your thoughts on this, because I've been thinking about this the last couple of days, and I thought, you know what, let's chat about this. Get your thoughts before we bring the show to a close. I think this is probably a topic all in. But if you're paying attention to the news, you're starting to see that in certain areas there's been a rise with cases. All right, Texas is one. A bunch of places have seen now a rise. So this potential wave that was supposed to maybe happen in the fall, now it's rearing its ugly head very soon, a lot sooner than anyone thought. Now, a lot of that has to do with there's more testing available, so they're finding more people that weren't mixed before, but that's probably a small percentage. So my question to you guys would be, my question and then my thought, how do you guys position the conversation? There are some folks that are looking at that now. I've had 2 conversations today with people that are saying, hey, wait a minute. And one of them is a medical facility here in they're concerned that, oh, wait, the states could come back and introduce another round of lockdowns, stay at homes. What do you guys think about that? And then I want to give you my why this show is so important. Okay, and I hope that people pay attention to this so they don't get blindsided a second time as they got blindsided the first time. So what are your thoughts on this, Suzanne?
My thought is that, you know what, the flu has killed a whole lot more people than COVID has. And we're going to have sicknesses and we're going to have, ills that happen to us every year, and it's always different. It's always something new. I've been through the Hunan flu. The H1N1, went through that, went through the swine flu, went through all these different ones that we've all been exposed to. It's going to happen, so one of the things I am seeing is that people do some of the things that we should have been doing before, and that's washing your hands a lot more and using sanitizers. Every time I get in my car, I use my sanitizer. I spray it on, and then I make sure I touch my steering wheel. So, and my doorknobs. So it's a lot of that's happening, so that I think it's preventing quite a bit. Trying to stay in your house and be afraid is not the way to go. So I'm not in favor of any kind of a lockdown. That's the most detrimental thing we can do as Americans. I'm sorry, a lot of this was politically engineered, in my opinion, and so I'm just going to stick with that. I'm out and about. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I think I actually had a conversation with someone he's a real good friend of mine, but we're quite different on our political views. But we had the conversation on purpose because of that. And the thing that I've come to now through all this, and I think, Jay, you'll appreciate this. You may actually be about to say something about this if I know you well enough, is it really doesn't matter what happens next. What matters is how we respond to it. Right. And so, like you're saying, you bring up this topic right now, is you have to be prepared for the worst case scenario that we're going to get locked down again, and be prepared to hunker down and find ways to keep making money. And that's why we're trying to obviously bring you potential opportunities, additional ways to think about your business, other ways to make money in your current business, other ways to think about making a side income, like that lifeboat that Jay talks about. We have to be ready no matter what. We can have our opinions. We can do our very best to vote and talk to our political offices. But at the end of the day, we can only respond with our own stuff. How we respond is going to change how our business, lives or dies.
That's true.
Right, and you hit the nail on the head. I think that whether or not you are in the camp that nothing's going to happen or that something's going to happen is irrelevant, right? It's irrelevant.
Yep.
Because if it happens to resurface and there's another lockdown, well, guess what? This time around, you didn't get caught off guard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you are without excuse not to be prepared, to have shifted, to have pivoted, to created a backup plan, a side plan, a primary plan, because you had plenty of heads up notice. So I would encourage that if you're watching the show, watching the episodes, all the great content and value that we continue to bring, and I really do believe we're bringing some great insight. And even if you only walk away with one thing out of the entire podcast that can help you improve your business, then it would have been worth the 30 minutes. But shame on you if something goes down where there is another scenario we've got to face of some kind of quarantine or what have you, and it just decimates you financially and in business simply because you didn't get everything. Make the right decisions, make the right adjustments, do the things you needed to do so that you didn't find yourself yet again in the bad place, but this time worse, okay? Because that's without excuse. And that's exactly what I told the doctor today at the medical facility. I said, hey, you've got an advantage over the last 90, 120 days. You now know there's the potential of it. So what are you going to do? You're going to pivot.
Well,
They
the
just
most important thing,
you didn't do
everybody
anything
needs to
about it.
understand, resilience is the most important thing you need to have. Somehow, some way, set yourself up for resilience. So I don't care if you choose to be at home or you choose to be out, figure that into the equation. That's what's most important.
Yep.
You got to keep on keeping on. You know, I cannot express that enough or strongly enough.
Yep.
All right. So we think we covered everything today, guys? I do too.
Hey, can we, on our next podcast, so that way our listeners have a chance to get a little preview, a little trailer on the next conversation?
Sure.
Suzanne, you've got a great list of businesses that you and I were chatting about last week, business ideas, potential business ideas that I think would be a wonderful topic for others to hear and to know what's out there that they might find interesting to pursue. And you never know. 1 year from now, we could hear someone who's got an extraordinary business because they got the idea off the podcast that you gave a list of things that are hot right now for people to do. I think that next time
I can definitely cover that. The next one we can go over. There was 8 specific ones that we did a lot of research on. I'm in a group that's just a mastermind. It's not a networking group. It's a mastermind. And there's a lot of people, we did a lot of research in our breakout group on what is trending and what is being successful as it is trending. So we have a really nice group of 8 things that we came up and presented to our mastermind group, and it was well received. So yeah, I think we should cover that next time.
Awesome.
All right with everybody?
All right.
And let's plug ourselves too, right? Because we want to help people. So, you know, I've got a 30-day accountability group I'm running. If you're interested in being accountable to a group of business owners and pay what you want group, come jump in with me. Just reach out to me. Jay, what have you got going on?
Well, I launched my radio show in 3 weeks from Sunday. Jay made me on 7 on BAP 820. And the purpose of this show is to stay positive, help people continue to survive, to go from surviving to thriving. On this show, I've got featured guests. These are people that are notable people. But I'm also giving the local business, not even local, anyone really, a spotlight to shine, to tell the world a little bit about you and your story. And even highlighting small businesses and authors and anyone who's got something good to bring to the community of impact. That is what the show will be about. And I think that's going to bring a lot of value to people too.
Cool.
And then I go through side gigs. So if anybody wants to talk about side gigs and look at the pluses and minuses of different ones that are out there, I've probably done the research on it. So you're welcome to IM me about that too.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
Excellent. So we'll see you guys next Tuesday at 4:30. And we are Business First Responders. This is Jake Jordan, Jay Mamie, and Suzanne Johns. We're glad you came. Thanks so much.
Bye, y'all.